new book, Arrivals, number 252, I believe. I went to some thrift stores today and found a bunch of books. Usually I get most of them on Mondays, but Monday was a rather Dudley was rather Dudley. Although I did get about 5 or 6 books yesterday. The majority are from today. These are from yesterday, and they don't qualify as books, but they were 50-cent vintage pamphlets on looking ahead to marriage. And a lot of people are like, why do these people get married so young? But you know what? At least they took the initiative to say, hey, we're getting married. We're going to get a booklet and read it, as trite as it might seem today. They at least had a pamphlet and they tried their best. And most of them, honestly, worked better than the modern marriage. And then people say, well, marriage is an outdated mode. No. People are an outdated mode of stupidity. But looking ahead to marriage, life adjustment booklet. Clifford Adams, what yours? Science Research Associates. Dot and Holly, or is it Holy? Holy, I don't know what the hell that says. 1951, fifth printing. Going steady. The importance of dating. Are you ready for marriage? So you're engaged. Off to a good start. A happy marriage depends upon your down-to-earth efforts to make it succeed. That's true. Have your parents been happy in their marriage? What is love? To build a happy marriage, you have to be able to love and to receive love. But that isn't something you learn overnight. Like your attitude, your training in love began when you were a baby. Then your one major psychological need was for love. When your mother first held you warmly and closely in her arms, she was satisfying that need and giving you your first lesson in love. What's this, an argument? If you lose your temper easily, you are revealing a lack of emotional maturity. That's true. But both Jack and Anne are emotionally immature. This handicaps them in making friends and in getting dates. Where do you stand, bruv? Jack is a young man, 19 years old. He is hot-tempered and sarcastic, domineering and aggressive. He pushes ahead with little regard for other people's feelings. Girls are a little afraid of him and don't like to date him. I mean, that guy looks like he's 37, but Anne is shy and timid. She depends on others to do everything for her. She has never learned to dance. She has never found out what interests boys. She doesn't understand them and is completely unable to carry on a conversation with them. They find her dull and seldom ask her for a second date. Those bangs, I mean, come on. Both Jack and Anne are emotionally immature. To understand yourself better, try to see yourself objectively as others see you. Sharing the interests of your date helps to give you the feeling of belonging. It's like a fucking seance. A conversation, just like a ping pong game, is a give and take affair. Yeah, right. Most people don't want to listen to what you got to say, bruv. Agreeing to go steady means you are making a tentative choice of a future mate. The right mate for you. What do I want in a mate? What do I need in a mate? What can I get in a mate? Hello, bruv. Engagement offers a couple a final opportunity to make sure they want to marry. There's the house, bruv. Be sure your wedding plans go forward smoothly. No, I'm not reading about the past. These are old booklets. I'm just perusing them. They're old booklets on marriage, dating, parenthood. It's Sethra. Look at that stove. That's fucking quality. Is that guy smoking at the fucking appliance shop? No, he isn't. It just looked like a cigarette in his mouth. Why is her arm up like that? Hello! Successful marriage offers you life's greatest sense of well-being and happiness. All right, Marriage and Parenthood, a pamphlet addressed to those about to marry by the Marriage and Parenthood Committee of the Society of Friends. This is London, 1949. Marriage and Parenthood. The engagement. Marriage. Love is not love, which alters when an alteration find. Parenthood. They got a poem for every section. They do. They do. All right, on to the books. Where should we start? This one was probably the most interesting book I found. The second most interesting, I'll say. Medicine and Slavery, which you don't really think about. Blacks in the New World, August Meyer series editor. Medicine and Slavery, the Diseases and Healthcare of Blacks in Antebellum, Virginia. I mean, you don't really think about slaves getting health care, but I suppose they had to. Were blacks medically different from whites? Let's check that out. Sickness and death were constant worries of 19th century Americans, especially in the disease-ridden antebellum South. Whether one lived in a crowded city or a large, isolated plantation, whether one was white or black, one could not totally escape the ravages of endemic and epidemic disease. Health was a ubiquitous topic of conversation among businessmen, artisans, planters, laborers, and agricultural workers of both races. Those who could write recorded their own and their neighbors' states of health and medical in agricultural journals, personal diaries, and letters and newspapers. Remaining alive and well was an ever-present concern for these people, one which had to be faced day in, day out. For the white man in the South, this problem of sickness and health was often compounded by the fact that he was overseer not only of his own and his family's well-being, but also of that of his black slaves. For the white man in the South, as if every white man in the South owned slaves. I think it was like 5%. The slave owner or hirer met this responsibility with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Despite the monetary investment represented by each slave, not all those in charge of the slave's care fulfilled their obligations adequately or humanely. Medical knowledge was at such a state in the early and mid-19th century that helpful medical intervention was, in many cases, a questionable matter. Because enslaved blacks had few legal rights and no social standing in the antebellum South. It's weird in writing this from South Africa. All right, cool. And no social standing in the antebellum South. They became wards of their masters, unable, for instance, to call for professional medical aid when they deemed it necessary, often unable to apply their own remedies to sick loved ones without disobeying the master's orders, and, in a sense, unable to have the final say in their own homes over the care of their own illnesses and death. Free blacks were in an even less enviable medical position, since they were usually poor and therefore dependent on the good-heartedness of employers, neighboring planters, local white physicians, or city hospitals. Interesting book. I'm not sure it's worth anything, but it's good. We Keep the Dead Close. A Murder at Harvard and a Half Century of Silence. Apparently, this girl was murdered, and this lady, whoever wrote the book, Becky Cooper, spent a decade researching her life and becoming obsessed with her. Maggie Nelson aptly deemed it her murder mind. We voraciously read, listened to, and watched true crime even more as it mirrors our current cultural anxiety. So when I acquired We Keep the Dead Close about an unsolved 1969 murder at Harvard, it was because of the author's quest to not only tell a fascinating story, but to answer the broader question of why we are so captivated by murder and its victims. In this instance, the victim was an outspoken, brilliant woman struggling in a male-dominated field, and the suspects were her colleagues. It's a narrative seemingly ripped from the headlines, and yet the case went overlooked and unsolved for 50 years. Ophelia joined the group, Maidens Who Don't Float. Ophelia joined the group, Maidens Who Don't Float. Classic Lit signs on to Facebook by Sarah Schmeling. I voiced my opinion that Classic Lit, which is not really Classic Lit, it's more like a fiction book that's based on either a book or some shit, is a wretched concept. But I got the book just because I hate the topic. Great Expectations newsfeed. What the fuck is this? I didn't even open the book to see what it was. I figured it was at least a little bit more than just a fucking, hey, I'm going to throw some shit in the book. But apparently it is literally throw some shit in a book. How dare you just throw shit in a book. Ah, that's a loser. Chinese Fairy Tales and Fantasies, translated and edited by Moss Roberts. The Black General. Really short ones? Yeah, there are some. Wagging My Tail in the Mud. The hermit poet Cheng Zhu was angling in the river Pu. The king of Chiu sent 2 noblemen to invite Chuang to come before him. We were hoping you would take on certain affairs of state, they said, holding his poles steady and without looking at them. Chuang Tzu said, I hear Chu has a sacred tortoise that has been dead 3,000 years, bruv, and the king has it enshrined in a cushioned box in the ancestral hall. Do you think the tortoise would be happier wagging his tail in the mud than having his shell honored? Of course, replied the 2 noblemen. Then be gone, said Cheng Tzu. I mean to keep wagging mine in the mud. That's fucking bold words there, buddy. They probably killed him 5 seconds after that. These are rather short. I like it. Plymouth. Then and Now. I think I have this book, but I was too lazy to look it up, but anything with old postcards is lovely. So you can look down to certain places where certain stores and residences were. Holy shit, that's still available and that's somebody's house? That's fucking brilliant. That's fucking brilliant, bruv. Alright, that's all for that. The Iliad. Oh, look at this guy. Wrote his fucking name on there. Gavin McLanigan. Hope he didn't write his name on all these books. I was planning on selling this, but not with Gavin shenanigans, and highlighting as well. But I think you know what the Iliad is by Homer. So, just looks like a new translation. By Barry Powell. This is a page turner bound to become the new standard translation. I mean, in the end, does it really matter? The translator. I guess it does. The Illustrated Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Illustration by Dame Darcy. I want to see this person. In a hot. I like her instantly. Dame Darcy has been called one of the most beguiling presences on the comic scene, winning over fans with her original comic book series Meat Cake, her book Frightful Fairy Tales, and numerous illustrations for popular magazines and newspapers. A multimedia artist, Dame Darcy works as an illustrator, animator, writer, artist, and musician. A self-proclaimed neo-Victorian, she lives in Los Angeles. I mean, the least Victorian of places you could possibly live. Oh, look at these wonderful, wonderful little. How much is this book? $22 US. Dame Darcy. What year is this from? Didn't even look at this book. I grabbed it. This is kitsch enough. Doesn't say a year. Why? Does not say a year. All right. I guess there's no year. Opposite facsimile of the title page of the first edition. To W.M. Thackeray. Preface. See when the preface. 1847. All right, well, there we go. That's nice. Don't know how necessary that is, but it's nice. Nice. It's a bit too cartoonish. Nice woodcut looking thing. What do we got here, bruv? I'm gonna rip this fucking page. It's nice enough. Something tells me this book is not cheap in the wild. I Ching, the classic Chinese oracle of change, the first complete translation with concordance. Don't particularly care about the I Ching, but if I can sell it for a reasonable price, around $10, I will do it. Even though this is 1994. The classic, the first complete translation with concordance. I already said that. The I Ching is an oracle. It answers change, the way you see things. Weird it doesn't have a barcode. What else do we got here, bruv? Let's push these here. Gödel, or is it Gödel? Gödel Escher Bach, An Eternal Golden Braid. Douglas R. Hofstadter, 20th anniversary edition with a new preface by the author. A metaphorical fugue on minds and machines in the spirit of Lewis Carroll. Some butter churning bullshit if you ask me, but seems like a book that no one would read. By Candlelight, Rites for Celebration, Blessing and Prayer. Janina Renee. A May festival candle. In modern climates, May Day, May 1st, signals the beginning of the summer season. The astrological cross-quarter date, halfway between spring equinox and summer solstice, is 15 degrees Taurus around May 5th or 6th. Here in the Midwest, in the last days of April, the leaves on the trees are still quite small, and many are pinkish and yellowish tinted, so they create a visual impression of colorful dot patterns. Shortly after the 1st of May, however, you turn around and lo and behold, most of the trees are now fully leafed out. Also, the woodland wildflowers are at their peak. Garden flowers are in bloom, and the last songbirds are returning. At this time, the Celts had one of their most important fire festivals, known as Beltane, meaning bright fire. They made great bonfires, and some would also ritually rekindle their hearth fires. With Samhain, Halloween, Beltane divided the year into, I know that's not how you pronounce them, but into light and dark halves, and because such transitional points were very magical, it is prominent in the fairy legends. Around the same time, the Romans had a 6-day festival in honor of Flora, goddess of flowers, which they regarded as no trivial thing, as this was one of their oldest holidays. The themes of fertility and festivity survived in customs like the maypole and May baskets. Through the first half of the 20th century, youths in many American communities rose early to hang baskets of flowers from neighbors' door handles, and some schools arranged maypole dances. Maybe that's where the pole dance came from. The Presidency in a Separated System, a book I normally wouldn't pick up, but it was 10 cents. 10 cents, so I got it. Powerful though it may be, the Oval Office is not the source of all authority in government. In a revised edition of this classic book, updated through George W. Bush, Charles O. Jones explains that an exclusive focus on the U.S. presidency distorts the picture of how national government really works. Jones explores the ways in which presidents find their place in the permanent government and how they are fitted in by others, most notably those on Capitol Hill. Making laws. Lars. I don't know why this was 10 cents, but 10 cents it was. For some reason, I keep finding books on New Mexico, which is odd. Guadalupe, Our Lady of New Mexico. As I've stated before, probably the most paranormal of all the lore in the world is these visions of the crying Mary and the vanishing Mary, or whatever they call them. There's Guadalupe, there's Fatima, there's all these. Our Lady of Guadalupe, the primary Marian devotion in New Mexico, is an ever-present symbol, at once peaceful, powerful, and persuasive. The New World Advocation of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Guadalupe appeared 500 years ago near Mexico City to Indian peasant Juan Diego. First introduced into the northern Rio Grande Valley with the Spanish reconquest in 1692, Guadalupe has played an important role in the daily lives of New Mexicans for 300 years, which is weird. As I said, like, most people didn't start seeing ghosts until the mid 1800s. Well, I guess they've seen them, but it wasn't like a big thing. So there's that. I got these 3 volumes of Mark Twain: The American Claimant, The Innocents Abroad, and the $30,000 request, or bequest, etc. But these are all Collier books. Obviously, they're not worth a lot, but they're nice hardcovers for only $1, so I picked them up. I don't know about nice, but they're Meisterschaft in 3 acts. These were the only 3 copies I saw, so that's why I grabbed them. $18.99. I mean, these might be early 1900. I'd say more like 1920, but I could be wrong. The $30,000 bequest, etc. 1917. Never really read any Twain. The Twain shall meet before I do. Mark Twain, The Innocents Abroad. Always looking for something old in these books. I don't see shit. Some ephemera. 1911. To my most patient reader and most charitable critic, my aged mother, this volume is affectionately inscribed. All right. The Cloister and the Hearth by Charles Reade. Picked this one up for $2 at a library sale. It's not the book I prefer by Charles Reade, but I still haven't got a hold of Actually, I did buy like 9 volumes of Charles Reed about 6 months ago that I forgot all about until I saw it in an eBay purchase I made. I was like, where the hell are these books? Designed to be read as a modern novel. Charles Reed. The Cloister and the Off. I think I have that book sitting right over here too. Where the hell is it? No, it's The Wandering Heir. Av. The Magic of Astrology by Jessica Allen. What your zodiac sign says about you and everyone you know. All right, let's look. This looks kind of like a fucking... I am a Taurus. Taurus. We shall see what it says about us. The Taurus. Where is Taurus most at home? Where Taurus goes is perhaps less significant than where they get to stay and what kind of amenities they'll find when they get there. Taurus likes the outdoors, but enjoys nature even more while glamping or from the vantage point of a luxury spa. Now, places I need to go. France, never going. Puerto Rico, never going. Italy, never going. India, never going. South Africa, never going. Canada, never going. Again, I've been there before. Ways to design your space to align with Taurus. Let's see, what about... Sleeping in doesn't usually work for Taurus, despite this sign's reputation for being slow to get started. Signs Taurus gets along with. Cancer, Capricorn, Pisces, Virgo. Signs who don't always get Taurus. Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio. Feeling down? Seek out Taurus. These affectionate friends stand ready with a kind word or bear hug, and they will never let you down. Even keeled and stable with a lovely, calm disposition, they make for terrific couch companions for binge watching. This is fucking... Oh, it's missing half a page. Oh, fucking... Someone hated Taurus, didn't they? Well, yeah, that should have been a fucking warning for me. But it wasn't. Probably the most interesting book I picked up was The Land of the Green Man, A Journey Through the Supernatural Landscapes of the British Isles. Carolyn Larrington. There's, of course, a song by XTC, The Green Man. I don't really know the lyrics, even though I've heard it about 100 times. Beyond its housing estates and identikit high streets, there is another Britain. This is the Britain of mist-drenched forest and unpredictable sea frets, of wraith-like fog banks, druidic mistletoe, and peculiar creatures that lurk, half unseen, in the undergrowth, tantalizing and teasing just at the periphery of human vision. I'll have the remarkably persistent folkloric traditions of the British Isles have been formed by the identities and psyches of those who inhabit them in her sparkling new history. Death and Loss, The Black Dog. I wonder if that's what the Led Zeppelin song was about. Sunset's nearly done. On this warm summer evening, there's no wind in the moon, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. This one sounds really good. There's some mass market paperbacks. Shakespeare, The Taming of the Shrew, and Much Ado About Nothing. I often see Shakespeare books, but unless they have decent cover art, I won't get them. This one's got great cover art. Just 2 heads with a mask. This one does have some writing in it, but I think it was this one that had writing. But I still got it. No, maybe it's this one that has the writing. Yeah, neither one seems to. Is this cover supposed to be this tarnished? Anyway, they both have good cover art. That's the whole point of getting these Shakespeare books. I probably have those anyway, but strangely, I found this book. Edgar Cayce Returns, the first in a series, the 24th in a series. by Robert Leichtman, From Heaven to Earth. For whatever reason, I found book number 1 and book number 24. I don't know who this guy is. This Kendrick Johnson, D. Kendrick, or Robert Leichtman, but wait, he wrote it through the mediumship of D. Kendrick Johnson? That's fucking crazy. It'd be great if this book was worth something. Anyway, I got them for 10 cents a piece, so it was a no-brainer to pick them up. Now I just need to get number 2 through 23 minimum. Sure, the series is worth something somewhere to somebody. I don't know who. Seance, Healing Messages from Beyond, formerly titled Seances, Seance, A Guide for the Living, Susan Northrop, and with Kate McLaughlin. A seance with Susan Northrop is nothing like those portrayed in movies. There are no raps, no flickering candles, no moving tables. But you do sit in a circle, and once there, you may not leave. Then, with her eyes closed, Suzanne begins to speak. She brings messages from the dead. She offers hope, and she changes lives. In this groundbreaking book, Suzanne makes you an eyewitness at seances where sorrow and anger turn to love and forgiveness. You will read the testimony of scores of people who have heard from those on the other side. Right. Louise Penny, A Fatal Grace, The Cruelest Month, and Still Life. Books I bought to resell since she's a #1 selling author. I'm sure the books are horrifically average. But she's making a shitload of money, so you can't blame her. The book is a given. This book is given along with All My Heart to Michael. 2005. Where's this one? 2007. Maybe this would be 2006. It is. So she's pumping these out once a year. These are mysteries. I will sell them. No doubt about it. This book, I don't know if it's worth anything, but I got it because of this. Since I live in the former Nankin Township area, Nankin Hardware, 35101 Ford Road, Westland, Michigan. Phone PA2 5700. It's weird that it has both the zip and the old style phone. But this book looks 60-ish. To me, anyway. Maybe it's later. Looks very 1960-ish. Probably worth nothing, but like I said, it's got the stamp of Nankin Hardware, so that's a winner for me. Chakras. A Start Here guide for beginners. Tori Hartman. Looking at third chakras, key ideas. For journaling, meditation, 17 minutes. A red first chakra concept. Don't believe in any of this bullshit, but what's that mean to me? Shakespeare Dictionary. The Hutchinson Shakespeare Dictionary, an A to Z guide to Shakespeare's plays, characters, and contemporaries. Book probably worth nothing, but it's a UK nonfiction reference book, and I bought it for 50 cents, so I will not complain. American Women Poets, Pioneers of Modern Poetry. And the main reason why I got this because it had some biographical information on explication on Saint Vincent Millay Edna. So she's interesting enough. Emily Dickinson's somewhat interesting. Crazy Victorian goth. And then we got Holy Ghosts. Or How a Not-So-Good Catholic Boy Became a Believer in Things That Go Bump in the Night. I believe I have this book, but I was too lazy to look it up. Plus, it was only 50 cents. So I got it. I thought, isn't this by a priest? Is that why it's called Holy Ghosts? Gary Jansen. See if there's a biography for Gary. Publishing 15 years, blah, blah, blah. Maybe not. Oh well, that's all. That's all. Goodbye, bros.